Hello friends, welcome back to my YouTube channel. In this video, as I promised in the previous video, we will be looking at the importance of English language for undergraduates and how you can learn English yourself for the survival in the university, right? So the project that I am going to introduce is English for academic purposes. This is purely based on my personal experience. If I want to talk about myself, now I don't claim that I speak in English fluently, but when compared to my previous version, I am okay with the language uh, because as everybody, like everybody, I also used to hate English language. When I was in school, if anybody comes and asks me what is your favorite subject, I might not have any answer. But if anybody comes and asks me what is the subject that you hate, I will tell English without even thinking, because it was a difficult subject. But without that subject, we cannot survive here, especially after the school life, right? So willingly or unwillingly, we have to learn English language. So English, people say that it is just a language, it is not knowledge. It may be true, but it's not true all the times, because that is also a knowledge, and that is essential for acquiring knowledge, right? So we cannot underestimate the power of English language. So as I mentioned you, the project name is English for academic purposes, right? English for academic purposes, right? So here this can be abbreviated as EAP. Now we are going to learn English for academic purposes, right? So academic purposes means for study purposes, right? So the study in the university. Why is it important? Because in the university the lectures are conducted in English, and we have to communicate with the lecturers in English. And when we go to interviews and when we enter the job world, then English is essential. Without English, even if we have more knowledge, we are nothing, right? So English is just a language. People say, yeah, it is a language. So this is a language. Now the language is used for communication purposes, right? Communication. The purpose of language is to communicate, nothing else, right? And not only the communication, the communication is not only the purpose of a language. Now this language is used for learning purposes also, right? So learning also requires English language as a medium, right? So here the medium, in the process of learning, English can be used as a medium. Okay, so generally if we talk about English, so English is a language originated in England, right? So this is not our native language. It was the native language for English people, England, the people who are living in England. But this is considered to be the the language of global communication, right? So we can call this as the language of global communication. Why is it called the language of global communication? Because the native, the mother language of people may be different, but there should be a common language by which we all can communicate. That is the English language. And the English language is the simplest language because it has only 26 letters. But many people consider these to be, like a hard thing to achieve, because they are not properly guided, or they don't learn the language in the way it should be learned. Okay, right? So I don't know in which direction I am going. So what I basically wanted to tell you is, if you are an undergraduate student, if you are a university student, English is vital. Without English, you cannot survive there, because our goal is to survive in the world. That's why we even earn, right? Because for example, we are all studying. Why do we need to study? We have to get a job. Why do we require a job? In order to survive in the world. So if we want to survive in the world, a job is important. Likewise, if you want to survive in the university, the language, English language especially, is important. So I have many friends. So what they usually tell is they can understand when the lecturer is teaching or when another person is speaking, but when it comes for when they try to speak, they are unable to speak because they are fumbling. Words are not coming out of their mouth. So here, what we lack, right? So, for example, you see here, we didn't, when we were born, we were speechless. We don't know how to speak. We just cried. Whether it's even if we feel appetite, if we are hungry, if we are thirsty, for everything, the only thing that we knew is crying. After that, we learned how to speak in our mother language because we were exposed to an environment where our mother language was taught, right? So likewise, here also we have to expose to an environment where English is spoken. Okay, so here, even though, okay, now you see here, input is there, output. Now, okay, for example, now, okay, so before I talk about that, I will tell you an analogy, right? For example, let's say you were born in England, so you don't need to actually struggle in English language because you will be fluently speaking even if you are a layman, right? So, okay, for example, you see here, in our country, if we are speaking in English, people observe us differently, like we are an educated person. But in England, there are laymen and educated people. So both laymen and educated people will be speaking in English, right? Because that's their mother language, or they are in that environment. So what we have to understand is, we have to expose ourselves to English, right? Okay, so for that, we don't want to attend any classes. There should be a guidance because you see, we are studying mathematics, we are studying science, we are studying history and all the subjects. We are familiar with those subjects and we used to get good results. But there are people who get comparatively low results in English in their school life also. Because the first thing I notice is people don't love the subject English. They hate it. But if you want to master in English language, first you have to love it, right? So the first requirement to become fluent in English is to love it, is to love the language. Okay? After that, you have to take step to study, right? So then take step to study, right? So when we take step to study, now we don't know where to start, how to deal with it, how to proceed with it, right? So the first thing is, if you are an undergraduate student or if you have just completed your school life, you should at least know how to read, right? Okay, so you should be familiar with reading, right? So you are okay with reading, and you don't know, okay, you don't know speaking, right? So you are okay with reading, you don't know speaking. Speaking means you can you can speak in a broken language, you can manage but you cannot fluently speak. Okay, then okay, listening means, okay, for example, if you have hearing capacity, then okay, you can listen, but listening should be performed with comprehension, right? Comprehension means you have to understand everything when we read or listen. So that is called comprehension. We have to absorb the information when we are reading or listening, right? So comprehension, right? So the reading and listening, these should be done with comprehension. And ultimately, we have writing also. So here writing also may be not a problem for everyone, because writing can we can take time to write. For example, if you want to write a note, or if you want to write an email, or if you want to even write an essay, you can take ample amount of time, you can take enough amount of time and think and write. So it is not a problem at all. But speaking should be done instantly. If I ask what your name is, you have to quickly answer. You have to you have to quickly think and answer. So it is an instant process. It is an instant process. So since this is an instant process, you have to practice a lot. You have to practice a lot. So okay, now the third thing is you have to study. After finding the proper mechanism for learning the language, you have to study it. I mean, you have to work, right? You have to sit, you have to study, you have to learn things, and studying alone will not benefit you. You have to practice, right? So practice in the sense, you can practice writing mock emails or sample emails, sample letters. You can just think that, okay, you want to write a letter to your dean, okay, mentioning a problem in the hostel, how I can structure the letter. You can write it, okay. But if you directly meet the dean, then you have to speak instantly. How can you practice this? So here in the hostel, so I tried hard to implement this in our colleagues, in our faculty or in the hostel, but people didn't respect my endeavor, so I couldn't implement that in the in the environment that I am. So that's why I'm creating this video, so that at least one person can get benefited from this video, right? Okay, if you consider myself, okay, now I think I am fluently speaking, I am slightly fluently speaking in English, but before that I was not okay with this language. I had confusions and I had problems, issues with the simple tenses also. I would write I was not come. This is how I used to write, because at that time the tenses were not, this is simply, there is a mistake simply in the tenses. Why we used to make these kind of mistake is in the school system, not only in the school system, as far as I have experienced, in the university also, English is not taught in the way it should be taught. It should be taught in a different way, but it is not happening even in the university. And we have to amend our syllabus in the school and in the university, because the English should be taught first for speaking, then gradually we can enhance it to writing and other stuff. And you cannot adapt to a traditional teaching style for this language teaching, because it requires a lot of beyond paperwork. It requires a lot of hands-on experience. We have to provide hands-on experience to the students. We have to make it into pairs, we have to make it into small groups, and we have to assign tasks to them, so that they can submit or they can practice themselves, right? And okay, so I'm just randomly talking now. What I wanted to tell you is, here when you go to a language class, they will first introduce the skills, okay, skills that are available in language learning process, right? So here English language is a skill. English language, so speaking in English is a skill, right? So this is skill. So this skill has two major components. We can say they will just define this, right? So why we want to study this is, nobody is going to ask what are the two major skills in English language, but we have to understand that for a better better implementation of the learning process, right? Here we have receptive skills. Even if I go to any seminars, I used to go to a lot of seminars for preparing O-level examination for their final English test. So when I start my seminar, this is what I teach them, right? So you should have some idea. After teaching this, I'm not going to focus on unwanted things. I will just tell you some tips which you can utilize to quickly master in this language, right? Okay. Receptive skills, and the next one is productive skills, right? Okay. Productive skills. So if you look at these words, now the word receptive means it seems to be coming from the root word receive, right? So receive means what? We have to get something. We have to get something from outside, right? So here under receptive skills we have two skills. The first one is listening, and the other one is reading. Okay, reading. And productive skills mean, now this seems to be coming from the root word, produce, right? Okay, produce, right? So produce mean we have to produce, we have to, that should come from us, from ourselves, right? So productive skills can contain both writing and speaking, right? So you might be familiar with speaking and writing, but speaking will drastically take a lot of time, right? So for some people it may even take 5 years or even 10 years, but you have to patiently study. You shouldn't demotivate yourself. You should be patient till you become or till you attain the required fluency level. Okay. Okay. So what I will tell you is, if you are an undergraduate student, or if you are a student who has just completed your A level and expecting the university letter to start your academic activities, you have to work on your language before you go to university. Even if you are in the first year or second year, it's the time you have to utilize this time. Otherwise, after being graduated, no, after your graduation, it's not possible to learn English and get ready for the job. So um, here, if you have just completed your advanced level, and if you are in the vacation, I will tell you some tips, right? Using which you can use to master this language. Now you don't need to actually become fluent like native speakers, but you have to anyhow become okay with the language in order to survive in the university. So the word I'm using is survive in the university, right? So for survival, we have to be in a moderate level, right? So if you are a middle class, you can survive. You don't need to be rich to survive in this world. But if you are a poor one, then surviving in the world is difficult, right? So likewise, in the language, you have to survive. And if you can make yourself more fluent, that is okay. That is an extra qualification for you. But before you go to university, you have to become okay with the language, right? And if you are still in the first year or second year, don't waste your time anymore. You have to adapt to the strategies that I'm going to tell now, and study it, right? So the first thing you have to do is you have to love it. Okay. Then only you will work for it, right? So first you have to love it so that you can work for it. Okay. Now we have to know what measures that we have to take, right? Okay. So now we have already discussed these receptive skills and productive skills. Now, if you consider the syllabus of this English language, so here there might be two major points. There will be two major divisions in the syllabus, right? So there will be majorly two syllabus. The first one is grammar. The first one is grammar, and the other one is vocabulary, right? Okay. So now grammar is the rule. We can say this is the rule, right? So this is what we have studied in our school without understanding anything. But what we like is learning vocabulary. We have to, vocabulary means simply the words, right? Simply the words. Now we have to increase our vocabulary, then only we can speak, because when we want to speak, we have to know the words, right? And for every action, we have words, and those are called verbs. And if you, so for example, if you know what is this, I don't know if you can see. Okay. So if you see this one, this is phone. So you should be able to tell this is phone. So you should know this name. So this is a noun. So here, this vocabulary and grammar are the two major syllabus that we have. So under grammar, we will study a lot of things, right? So tenses, passive voice, active voice. There are a lot of things. But what we have to study is vocabulary. We have to learn a lot of words. So how can we learn these words? We have to read, right? So the basic mantra is reading. So reading will increase your vocabulary. That now only I'm coming to the main picture. So if you want to increase your vocabulary, you have to read. If you have expanded your vocabulary only, you will be able to fluently speak without fumbling, right? So the best or the most important thing is to read, right? Now here, okay, for example, people say reading completes a man, right? So reading completes a man, or reading makes a complete man, right? So there is a proverb, English proverb. Here we don't even read in our mother language. That's why our knowledge does not increase. If you read more, then you can really feel the increment in your knowledge. But even in our mother language we don't read. Then how can we expect ourselves to read in a foreign language, right? So here what we have to do is, whether you understand or not, you have to read. So what can you read? You can simply read your textbooks. You can even read your lecture notes if you are in the university. But apart from all these, we have to read newspapers, right? So this is how I learned English myself. So that's what I'm going to tell you. What you have to do is, you have to read newspapers. Newspapers. So by reading newspapers, you can get a lot of advantages, right? So now newspapers mean, here I am referring to English newspapers, right? So you can take daily news, right? So daily news is published every day except Sunday, and on Sunday you can get Sunday Observer, okay? And there are many newspapers, right? So I usually read newspaper, daily news and Sunday Observer. So every day you have to read newspapers. So if you read newspapers in English, you can enhance your passive vocabularies, right? So you can enhance your passive vocabularies. What are passive vocabularies? Passive vocabulary means the words that you understand but you don't use in your day-to-day life, right? So okay, I already told you about vocabulary. So vocabulary means all the words that a person knows or uses, right? This is the definition of vocabulary. Now we may have two types of vocabulary. The first one we call active vocabulary. Active vocabulary means in your day-to-day life you will use them. In your day-to-day conversation you will use them. Then passive vocabulary means when you are reading or when you are listening, you may understand, but in your day-to-day life you will not use them, right? So this is the classification. These are the classifications of these vocabulary, active and passive vocabulary. Okay, right? Now what we have to do is, we have to enhance our vocabulary by reading newspapers. And there is another advantage by reading newspaper. So if you read newspaper, you can enhance your general knowledge also. You can come to know what is happening here in the home and in the overseas, right? So here in one stone you have two mangoes. In one stone you have two mangoes. You can enhance your knowledge, general knowledge, as well as your vocabulary, so that you can become fluent and become a better person. So I think for now this is enough. The information that I have shared with you is enough. So if you like this video, please subscribe to my channel and share with others, so that they also can learn something new. And in the next video, I will show you how you can read newspapers and enhance your vocabulary, right? So till I meet you in the next video, bye.